Dude, this has been a long time coming.
For real.
To have Max DeVincenzo.
What a round table we have right now.
What a round table.
What a full circle moment.
So fun.
That's
dude.
true. It is a full circle moment.
Yeah. I saw you liked my message from a year and 8 months ago.
Because that was the only chat that we had was you being like, hey, Taylor, like, excited to meet you. Thank you, Max, for putting this together.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah.
And here we are.
What is that from like April 2023?
Is that right? I'm going to do this to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Word.
Is that okay? At least for now.
Totally. That's fine.
We're also going to peek over.
Yeah, you can kind of move it if you want. Yeah, when was that? Oh, he got a hinge match, baby.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go. It was April 14th. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Say April 14th? Holy
I just
shit.
said April. I didn't
Oh,
say
okay. I
I
thought you
didn't
said
say a day.
April 14th.
April 14th.
Great to meet you, Taylor. I'm moving back because I went to audio engineering school in Nashville originally. I want to expand my recording business a little faster in a place with a little lower cost of living. Haha.
LOL.
I got
$50 a month.
Right.
I've got a ton of friends there as well, so I thought it'd feel right at home to move.
Typo rejected.
Ridiculous.
Damn, what an idiot.
Stupid.
Can't even type.
A few of my friends are doing assisting work at various studios around town, and I'm hoping to start doing that as well.
Wow.
That's cool.
April 14th, dude.
I love having records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's
And
so
you
cool.
never know where something's going to lead. Like, I had a really good buddy. He's my buddy now, but we met from like mutual connection or Facebook or something, and we just met to see like how we could collaborate at like video stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I'll write music for your videos that you do for companies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure. And then that didn't happen at all for like years. And then 2-3 years later, he came on one of my projects, and we just became like instant friends in a totally different capacity.
Yeah.
And we do like video projects together all the time, but just
Yeah.
wasn't what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You never know like what it's going to turn into when you meet somebody. Like
Yeah, it's very
you
true.
just don't know how you can help each other out, or if you're just going to be good friends, or
Right.
and be doing the same thing parallel, or if you're going to work together in some capacity. And
That's
like,
why it's important to be open to anything and not have expectations when you meet
Yeah.
somebody. Just like be curious
it's
about
like-
where the crossover is.
yeah,
I feel like I'm bad at that. Like, I want it to be like, okay, this is the...
I need this from this guy.
I need this, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're starting something out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I need an intern at the studio, or like, I need someone to help me with this. It's like, I'm bad at that.
Yeah.
Like, I want a thing.
Yeah.
I want things.
Things always end up falling into place where they're supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. You're the guy. Most people in our friend group know of you because you're the guy that like is the networking guy.
Oh, funny.
Like, because we'll like, I don't know. We've talked to Mike about it. We've talked to Brad about it,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody. But like, we're like, yeah, Max. Max would have went up and talked to her. Max would have been the guy.
That's funny.
Dude, my therapist told me to, it was really good. I said something about, Taylor told me that you have like this philosophy of like, if I don't go talk to her, like I'm gonna regret it, and like I'm gonna be so mad at myself because I missed an opportunity.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was in therapy, and I told my therapist that I was like, because we were just talking about ways that I can be, just kind of like different ways that I can sort of approach life and make connections with people, and I think. She said, "You need to adopt some Maxian philosophy."
That's right.
She
That's
did. I'm
right,
not
yeah.
kidding. She said that because
Oh,
I told her
man.
the story about
That's
that, and
so
she's
funny.
like, "We're gonna call that Maxian philosophy. You need to adopt
I'll take
that."
it. That's hysterical.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Well, yeah, man, I don't know. I that just comes from like I love people
Yeah,
so much. Like every person that I meet, I love learning about their story. I'm just passionate about finding out who somebody is.
yeah, sure.
It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah,
in some ways. So there's that. But the thing that always sticks with me is you have two choices in every opportunity. You have the path of failure or the path of regret. And or the pain of failure, the pain of regret, like whichever way you end up going. And I'd so much rather have pain of like rejection or whatever it is than regret, because the pain goes away. Regret stays with you for the rest of your life.
Damn. Some Maxian philosophies getting dropped.
Very true though. Like
it is true.
And it's it's kind of how you think about it that's going to determine what you do too. You know, like if you do have that mindset and if you are focused on like, you know, I don't want to regret this in the future. I remember I respect my dad for what he's done with like his business and everything. And if you talk to him, he's like, I didn't want to grow up to be like 50 years old and be like, well, shoot, like I wish I did that thing.
Right.
I wish I would have quit my job and went full time into this thing, or I wish I would have done this. Like the regret of that would have been too much.
Yeah, totally. It's funny you mention your dad. I was thinking of my dad as we're talking about this, because he's like the mayor, right? Have you ever met Sal?
1,000,000%.
DeVincenzo?
Sal is absolutely the mayor of Boulder.
The mayor of Boulder, Colorado.
100% is.
To the point where
he knows everybody.
Well, he knows people that he doesn't know, which is
like
literally we'll be sitting at a restaurant or something and be like trying to have a conversation with him, and he's like doing one of these, and I'm like, all right, go talk to him. What are you going to do? And he's like, oh, how's the food over there? And then it strikes up conversations from New Jersey. And they know like so-and-so, and they were best friends growing up. And he just makes these instant connections. And I always tried to embody that, because you miss out on so many interesting things if you're not talking to people.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. But what, like when you start a conversation with someone, like are you trying to dig deep into like, when I would teach lessons, I would intentionally try to like find the thing in the student that like lights them up a little bit, or like gets them to laugh, and like I would try to find that thing, and so I would find like a little success, and like they would be like, oh yeah, I actually love Minecraft, and like let's talk about Minecraft, like let's go. Like, are you trying to dig for something like that, or like what is a success in a good conversation for you?
That's a great question. You're making me think of, so I did a bunch of interviews on this trip that I did earlier this year, like talking to artists,
which we'll dive into.
And it wasn't so much like digging for something, but what ended up happening in each of the interviews as I'm talking to them is I think every person has something that they're going through, like an emotion that they're feeling that they want to kind of like bubble up to the surface. And if you're not talking about that, they'll talk about whatever topic is at hand, but if you can listen and really like hone in on what it is that they're passionate about in that moment, like and just allow it to bubble up to the surface, that's what really excites them. So it sounds like that's what you're doing with your students, is like, what are you excited about right now? What do you want to talk about? As soon as you start circulating around that, it's like, ooh, and they just keep going. It creates like momentum in that. So I'm always trying to find that. I'm always trying to find, more so than like what I'm interested in or what I want to talk about, I'm curious to learn from another person and hear what they're interested in that moment, and you know, that day, or what their projects are currently.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see it too. Like you can see like when you're getting close to the topic that they're excited about, like you can see it. Like,
dude, that was the coolest thing. Interviewing people was like these words. It was almost like the shadow of a topic, where, is that a good way to put it? Yeah, or like a reflection, where they wouldn't say the word, but you would start seeing that there was this theme circulating around the word of like trust, or of home was one this guy was talking to, and he started talking about being on the road and like his girlfriend and how she was when he left and coming back, and how those lifestyles are different. And then, I don't know, it's like a gravitational pull towards something. So I really like being guided by that.
That's
from
cool.
People.
Kind of letting people show you what they want to talk about.
Yeah,
and
totally.
What's on their mind in that moment.
Yeah.
I feel like we see that a lot, having people on the podcast. You know, there will be people will come on and maybe they have something to promote that they're like excited to talk about, that they're like, that's new for them, that just happened. But sometimes you get somebody on the podcast and something happened that day and they really want to talk about, like, I can't think of a specific example. I wouldn't give one either. I don't want to call anybody out, but like, I do remember, like, there's definitely been a few podcasts where like somebody's come in and had like kind of a day and like something was going on, and then that actually guided the conversation towards a certain topic because it had to do with like a thing they were going through at the time or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, it's just like what's top of mind and what
Mm-hmm.
people are going through.
It's about being honest too. And I think our culture is, when it comes to our feelings and things we're going through, like pretty dishonest.
Yeah.
If you go up to somebody
%.
like,
Oh yeah,
"How
everything's
are you?"
great.
"Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine."
I'm fine. Yeah.
So used to saying that. It's like, oh, actually, boom, 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 boom. But we're so afraid to like put that on somebody else.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Mhm.
There's I'm reading a book by Sam Harris. It's called Lying.
Oh,
And like
interesting.
his thing is like
No, you're not. That
You're lying, bro.
shit. Sorry. It's called truthing. It like his whole thing is like, if like there is one thing in this world that should change, it's probably that like if nobody lied ever again, like we'd be doing pretty good.
interesting.
Like
Yeah.
we lie to ourselves all the time. Like, you know, like you're going into the interview, you know you're not qualified for it. Like you're going into the session or whatever. Like you're like I didn't learn the parts, but like if I act like I know the parts, you know, they're gonna think I got it, and then I can maybe get the gig and like this whole thing. But like, nah, dude, you don't know the parts. Don't lie to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
this is your fault, and like learn from it, and next time learn the parts. But like when we lie to ourselves, just like things get distorted, things get weird. It's not reality, you know.
Totally.
Well, we probably lie to ourselves more than we lie to anybody else.
100%.
Like just the stories that we tell ourselves about things.
We're all a little delusional,
Yeah.
you know, to
Right.
a degree, to a small degree.
It's like you kind of know the truth deep down a lot of the time, but you're just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's probably not.
But we also think like if we like have a delusion forward, you know, like if we have a delusion that's going to like lean us towards being a little bit more successful, like then it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, like I'm going to be the best music producer in Nashville. Or like I am that right now. And like if I think that, I'm going to kind of delusion forward.
There's a balance, right? It's like there's
Because you need that too, to a degree. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
You can lie to yourself and you can hold yourself back and say, "Oh, I'm worthless. Like I'll never be good enough," whatever.
Sure.
You can also like lie to yourself and say, I'm the best. Like I know that I'm. But maybe it's not a lie. Actually, maybe it's just like recognizing, you know, pieces of you that you want to like bring forward. And that's visualization, I think.
Yeah.
And that's good momentum.
That's true.
But yeah, it's interesting. If nobody lied, we get so much more done, I think.
You probably would.
Nobody would waste their time on things they don't want to do.
Yeah, I don't want to go to that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I want to go. Yeah.
And then I guess everyone else has to everyone has to carry the responsibility of not taking it personal when people are honest with them. Like,
Right.
okay, you don't want to go to that, and it's not because you hate me.
That's almost more important than not lying, is like people not taking things personally.
Yeah.
That we would feel more comfortable being honest if you could be like, "No, I actually don't like that music."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I don't want to go to that. Yeah.
Right? Like, oh yeah.
Then you trust people more because you're like, oh, if you want something, you'll tell me. If you don't want something, you'll tell me. I don't have to guess.
Right. And if someone agreed with you all the time, you're like, God dang it.
Yeah.
You don't agree with me.
Ever. Yeah. It's like when you play a gig and love friends coming to gigs, it always feels really good. But you get up there and you're all set up, you learn the songs and you just suck so bad. You like play one of the worst gigs of your life and you miss all the hits or whatever. And you get off stage and your friend's like, "You're amazing."
It's the worst feeling in the
blew
world.
my mind.
It's so much worse than
You did
somebody
great,
being like,
sweetie.
"Dude, that was rough, man." That was a rough one.
Like, right? It was horrible.
Yeah. Thank you. Because it's like, oh, you see me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it like, it's like you lose a little bit of trust in it because you're like, I know. You saw me mess up like 8 fills in there. Like, you don't have to tell me. We all know.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like when the sound guy, you can tell he's not into the sound of your band because after the show, he's like wrapping cables. He's like, "Good set." And then he just goes back to wrapping cables. And then you have like a show where the sound guy comes up to you and you can tell it's genuine because he's like, "Hey man, I really like that thing that you were doing and like that guitar tone you had." And you're like, "Oh, you heard it and you took note of what was was
Yes.
But if you get the "Good set, man," and then you're like, "All right, it's not for you. That's fine. It's not your style."
It's a good lesson in being reserved in recommendations and apologies and compliments.
Yeah.
'Cause if you keep those a little bit tighter when you do one of those things, when you do apologize for something, it has so much more weight. Then if like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm apologizing, sorry for apologizing,
Yeah.
like none of those mean anything.
Right.
Or for recommendations or compliments are a really big one. Like, don't just like toss those unless you like actually mean it.
Yeah. It's got to come from something.
Yeah.
It's got to come from like, a real place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It should come from an emotion instead of like, oh, I should
Yes.
say this right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, we went to one of our friends, Nathan Sletner. Yeah. He was doing the clinic on Thursday.
Nice.
We went to see one of his shows, and I feel like maybe I fell into that thing where it was like, he's one of the best drummers I've ever seen, maybe ever. He's a fiend. But during the show, I was just like, oh my God, you did this moment that was so good. Like, you had this fill, and then like he was like, okay. Like, but actually, like literally everything you did was so amazing. Like actually, like there were 5 moments during the show when I was just like, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But like it was truly coming from a place where I was like actually amazed by what he was playing, as opposed to just like a formality of saying like, great show.
Do you think he like heard you and like accepted it and received it?
He knows me well enough to,
He knows it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. He's like, that's Taylor.
Because some people are they're totally shielded when it comes to compliments too, and maybe it's like you don't want it to go to your head sort of thing. I think some people have that mentality of if you tell me I'm doing good, then I can be done and I don't have to work harder to get better.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about. It's like the whiplash mentality.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, because like everybody wants to be humble to a degree, but then there's such thing as too humble, to where you're like below where you are.
Yeah.
There's where you are,
And that's the
but you're
weird
like,
thing.
no, I'm trash, dude. Like I need to work so much harder. Like, okay, then you put yourself here. Well, you're actually here,
Yeah.
but then you have the opposite too, where it's just like, that was like the best show you guys have ever seen, probably. Like, okay, so now you're here. Like, we're here.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it down a little bit.
It's all balance.
Yeah, it's balanced for sure.
Well, do we want to jump into some of these mixes you have brought us?
Oh, sure.
I mean, we could keep
yes,
talking.
please.
I'm cool to chat, but we've got I'm really excited to see this.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We got what would you call it? A bleep? A ding?
Let's dive into some bleeps.
So you could call this a couple of different things. I went to school for film composition, and in some ways, this is like a little itty bitty microscopic shorty film score, but like really specific.
Baby film score.
Yeah, because so it's a 9-second, 12-second audio logo that I got, and you should play it without the sound first, so people can see it if they're watching the video.
Yeah.
We've got the screen recording, right?
Let's do a quick cut, future Taylor. What's her code word?
Pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel.
So
Pumpernickel.
don't drop that in casual conversation. Just in case we're going to be talking about pumpernickel at all. Just don't let that casually slip. That's our code word.
I bring up the transcription, and if I look up pumpernickel, that's when I know when to cut. Because there's no time when we would say the word pumpernickel.
Shout out to AI.
So funny.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
All right.
We're
so
nickel
Max,
back.
we're nickel
Sorry.
back.
It was teed up.
It was too good. So this is a logo, a audio addition to a visual logo scroll, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, exactly. It's an animated logo that I got without any sound, and people oftentimes will neglect the audio when it comes to video. So I think they had this animation created for their company, like really nice logo animation, and then they wanted something that fit the vibe of the company, and also like match the sounds or the visuals happening in the logo itself. So I was describing this as kind of like a micro film score, because the way I approach this is I wanted every motion that happened, and you'll see it, it'll make more sense, but every motion that happened in this animation, I wanted to give it character and also like place like weight on it. Like, for example, there's a ball that falls at the very beginning, and the first question I asked and got like 10 different answers, like, how heavy is that ball? Like, because however low the sound is determines like how heavy that ball is.
Is it a bowling ball? Is it a ping pong ball?
Right.
Yeah.
Also, what is that ball made out of? Because like it could be rubber, it could be iron, it could be wood, it could be glass. So the logo has only, it's like black and white mostly, and then there's one. It's funny talking about this. I've so hyper analyzed this thing. I know every millisecond of this 12-second long thing, which is just a totally different approach. This versus like working on a film score, and there's 45 minutes of music, and you're spreading stuff out. So this is a good exercise in matching, sound and visuals. So let me play it once without the music, without the audio, so you can see what the whole thing looks like. That should work. So here's what I received. Okay, so it's short. It's, what is it, 5 seconds, basically. You can break it down into so many different pieces. Right here, that to me, that's like the first act. That's the first story is, okay, this thing falls and hits the ground, which it's notated where the ground is, and then it like blossoms up, right? So that's kind of the first thing that happens, and then that whole shape slides over, and there's a name, and there's every motion needs something along with it. So here's what we ended up with. This is our final version.
So cool,
right.
dude.
So a bunch of things going on. The irony of that is that I tried so many different things for the solutions part. My first instinct was, oh, what if it sounded like somebody writing it out? So that, I think it's an important point to make. It solved the problem of what does that sound like visually, but it didn't solve the problem of what does the brand sound like? Like, what do they want their company to sound like? And when you have, something scratching on paper, it could almost cheapen the brand because it's, I don't know, analog, or paper isn't like an expensive fancy thing. It's all kinds of psychology that you get into with that.
It sounded like there was a bit of like a clacking.
Yeah.
There.
Yep.
Yeah, almost like a typer, like a keyboard typing as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a little flutter.
So you know what that is? There's so many sounds in here. There's way too many. But just enough. That is a lock opening up.
No.
Because I wanted to find something that. So here's the question: you get really in depth in this stuff. Like, what is integrity? Like, what does integrity sound like?
Right.
Like, what is something that has integrity? It's like something solid, something that is secure. Like, okay, a lock. Like everybody has a psychology of a lock will secure things. So I wanted to use that somehow. I tried a bunch of different ways. I have a lock opening sound, I have a lock sliding sound, and I have a lock spinning. And these are all just samples that I did myself. So sounds like this.
It's like reversed too.
It's
something?
pitch shifted, it's reversed. There's like a bunch of stuff.
How did you get it to make the like in series sound where it was like, where did that come from? Was that like
chopped it up?
Oh, you chopped it up.
Okay. So what happened is it was a like a rotary on a lock, the spin dial on a lock.
Yeah.
And I got it really close to the mic and I turned it, and there's all those little transients that happen at random times. And then after I recorded, I just went back in and adjusted them so that it matched.
Yeah.
So I stretched it and moved things around, slowed things down. And then the lock opening sound is just opening the lock. I hardly did anything to that.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that when it's mixed in and everything. It's almost like a subconscious thing because it's covered up by this ding and other sounds. So right, you have that chime at the very end.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of resolves the music of it, so to speak.
Right.
So what else do we have going on here? Bunch of design sounds. This rubber sound I went crazy with. I have 3 different rubber sounds of the letters kind of stretching.
I'm surprised you described that as rubber.
Yeah.
Was it a rubber band? Or was it a synth?
I designed that sound and it just felt like rubbery to me. I don't know.
How'd you make it?
In massive. Like
you're a massive guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. and we'll have to pull up the massive file sometime to like look at the specifics of it. But
Yeah,
it's
I got massive on Ableton.
oh,
If you wanted to really dive, you don't have to though.
we could. I don't have the file with me, unfortunately.
I got you.
We could sit here for 3 hours and you can
Yeah,
find
so
it.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, you can just
It's
start from scratch.
trade secret, so we can't get into that. No, but I think it's some kind of a like bass tone that has like some pitch shifting, and I think it's 2 tones that maybe like meet in the middle or vice versa.
Did you start with massive just completely blank
Yeah.
and start drawing it in from
Yes,
just knob by knob from ground one?
pretty much. Or it
Yeah.
might have had a sound that I designed previously that was like similar or
Yeah, a good
kind
starting
of in the
point.
right direction, and then nudge that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you do it one more time?
Yeah, just the rubber.
Okay.
And that one's
Some
got like,
verb on it.
yeah, it's actually 2 rubber sounds on that that close.
Yeah, I can hear like the slight dissonance between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of like rolls into it.
You
So-
got the what is it called? That thing called?
Crossfade? No.
What did you say?
I don't crossfade? No.
I was hoping you would get that. Where you can add separate
Oh, the voices
sine waves, maybe voices. Yeah, voices.
or oscillators.
Yeah.
Or something.
You're doing that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think it's got multiple voices in it. and yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go through a couple more. It's just funny going into like the absolute tiny details of something like this because this is not how most things are. So I hope that this is the smallest microscope that I'll ever use on a project because
Yeah.
it's so meticulous. And the number of times I heard
Oh, I got you.
this thing and watched this animation is just unlike any other project I've worked on. Just because you're, adjusting things and
Oh yeah.
what else is worth noting? So I guess the other thing I could show you is a couple of the rejected sounds that I tried out that just ended up being a little bit too harsh for this. So these should be going, right? Are these muted here?
No, I just made them black because
okay.
they were the scratch tracks.
Cool. So let's see what these 3 are. Totally different vibe.
Totally.
So that was almost like a more techie approach.
Yeah.
And it worked because they're in tech some, but it was too it was like too computer bitrate hacker for what this was. So
It almost would be like that would be something that would maybe be used more in like the early 2000s when it became really popular to use
Yeah.
like computer sounds and things and make things sound more digital. That's kind of what I hear.
Yeah.
Did you play around with any sounds for the color swipe at the end, or did you always feel like that should just be silent?
I did actually. They got back and they said they wanted it to be silent at the end, and I ended up agreeing with them because that last note that happens kind of resolves.
Kind of wipes it away.
So you have this kind of build,
Yeah.
and that's the last thing.
Yeah.
And when I did have almost like a curtain sound. It was the opposite of this arpeggio at the beginning. Where is it? That boom,
one.
boom, 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 boom. It was that, but octave lower and just 3. Boom, boom, boom. So just kind of like close
good
like
idea.
that.
Yeah.
It worked nice, but it was a little bit too literal, and it pulled away from that resolve at the 3/4 mark or whatever.
Right.
So
Did you, when you were making the ARP sound, did you have to pick a BPM, or did you just put the notes exactly where they needed to be
Oh.
for the?
good question. No, everything is placed. There's no tempo on this.
Yeah.
It's literally like frame by frame. Like where does that thing
Yeah.
happen? I think the ARP is lined up to like the IN and then integrity or something like
cool.
that. I tried to match it with the letters.
Yep.
So it's as they're passing this boundary, they make sounds. See?
Yep.
Right. So as each one
Yeah.
passes this little person icon,
cool.
it makes it sound as it's like being released.
Yeah.
Too detailed. Like it's
Well, because it feels like it feels like the notes are evenly spaced from each other.
yeah, they basically
They probably are. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I nudged it a little bit. If these aren't totally even, then I nudged the notes that they ended up being even.
Well, it's so
themselves.
minuscule that like it knows.
Right.
Hey, that arpeggio sound was out of time.
Well, that's the funny thing. But we were talking about this before we started the podcast. Is like the details in mixes and what people experience. And at the end of the day, you can get as detailed as you want in this minutia, but you have to pull out and just like the whole thing on its own as an experience needs to be one cohesive thing, and you can't notice any specific detail. Otherwise, it pulls you out from it.
Yeah.
So that's always the mixed note is like, oh, this is sticking out. I was like, oh, right. Because I was focusing on that for a while, trying to make it sound really good. And now it's like a little bit more forefront.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, I think eventually we ended up with a nice blend of things.
Yeah. Can you break out the very first sound, that initial attack of the
Oh, yeah.
bassy attack?
This one?
Even just that. What is that?
That's a kick drum. I think
It's
that
just a kick.
yeah,
A sampled kick.
Yep. Just grab one from Battery and mess with it. I think I put like a high pass filter on it and
I gotcha.
try to make it small because like a kick drum on its own is like that ball is too small for that.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be too low for that to match up.
You just had a bass note follow it.
Yeah. What else I have? Let's see.
Yeah.
So that's the
okay.
rubber. So
That's
it's
the
just
rubber.
that one little pop at the beginning, and then the shine comes in.
Right.
So there's really a sound for every single element. That impact is for the ball, and then the shine is for the thing that sprouts up.
Yep.
Is the second shine, is that the same sound like when it comes back in there, or is that a similar sound that you just put in the same track?
Same sound. I felt like this needed to resolve musically, so it kind of breathes. So I create like a little bit of tension.
Yep.
When it opens up, and then when the
Womp,
integrity
womp.
kind of like settles in, it
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if it has a key necessarily, but I had like urges where things needed to have like tension to release throughout
Yeah.
the whole thing.
It's got to be such a funny project to work on. Like, you know, when you say elephant over and over and over, like it starts to lose
Yes.
meaning.
Yeah.
Yes. This one, luckily, like things were getting nudged enough, but you know, I've worked on recordings for like audiobooks or something, and
Right.
the person recording will miss a word and
Yep.
they'll repeat that section over and over again. And those are rough because
Those are rough.
you can actually break words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hear them differently after a while.
But yeah, and then it starts to like to lose the life in it. Right? Yeah, because there's that thing like Rick Rubin talks about, like there's something magic about that first take.
Yes.
And like even just like the first time that you watch that, I'm sure like there was just an explosion of ideas of like everything that you could do. And then you have to start to dive in, like, okay, so that should be a ball sound. It should be a like rubber ball.
Right,
It
right.
should weigh half a pound. And then-
Yeah. Well, the first listen of a song or the first view of something is so important because every person that experiences that, whatever it is they're working on, that will be their sole experience 99% of the time.
Yes.
Is they hear it one time and it's their first time hearing it.
Right.
And so when you listen to like a demo for a song, for example, your very first impression of whatever that is I think the absolute most valuable. So
Right.
I don't, if you know, artists send me songs, maybe I'm going to produce a song for them. I wait until I'm sitting down, I have my notebook in front of me, and then I hit play and work through stuff then, because that's when the best ideas come to you too.
Yep.
That very first reaction. So that can apply to just about any project you're working on.
You'll intentionally do that though? Like you'll intentionally, do you say that? You'll mark down ideas that you got initially off the bat?
Yeah.
It's probably smart.
Yeah, because it gives you like a guiding light, you know?
Right.
There's so many ideas that you could go with, but if you sit down, whatever your exact first reaction is, that at least narrows out, 80% of them.
Right.
Because you could always like second guess yourself. Like, oh, what if it is? What if it is? Like, nope, this is the first reaction I had. This is what everybody else will experience. Like, I'm going this direction to start.
Right.
And then you can always change stuff later if you need to, but at least like start walking this way. That's the one thing I learned from music composition is start with a seed, write whatever you're going to write. And then oftentimes you'll like end up removing whatever that first thing was, but you need it for leverage to start. It's kind of like your keystone.
Right. But you wouldn't have had that second idea if it wasn't for the first one too.
Exactly.
Like you
just need
need that.
direction.
And like you only get one first take on something. Like you can always have the fifth and sixth and seventh take, but like that lightning in a bottle is only there once, and you have to like prioritize and write it down. I think that's smart.
100%.
I never thought about that.
That's something I've been trying to actively work on lately is trying to, when I'm coming up with a song idea and I have that creative spark, a lot of times your first instinct is to like vomit out all your ideas and be like, okay, I know what the bass is going to do. And you're just like, let me get it all down. But then just being like, okay, yes, but I also maybe should like make sure that the first guitar take that I do is solid and like not just record something that I know I'm not going to use, because I may get attached to that sound and then not be able to, then I'm kind of stuck with it, because it's like, well, I can't get that again, but I'm not 100% happy with what I started with. And I'm kind of learning that the hard way, going back through some of my demos and like trying to make them into final versions, where I'm like, I don't know if I can replicate the demo version. Like, I should just stick with that, you know? And so I'm just like trying to reframe my mind to kind of embody that more, where it's like going into it with the intention that this might be it. You know, this first thing that I'm doing might be the thing. Adam Simons was saying something like that when
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had so many people come on here where they're like, this is just like the demo take, dude. It just sounded good.
Yeah.
And like then you can't, and also what we were talking about before the podcast too, like you almost can't recreate anything. You know?
No.
Like when someone is asking, like, it doesn't sound enough like the Chili Pepper snare. Like, well, dude, I'm sorry to tell you, but that wasn't Chad Smith playing.
Exactly.
And it wasn't 1990.
Exactly.
You can't do it. You can't get that sound again. You can't get that first take again. You can't get that first demo again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, personally, I don't know what the value is in that. You know, if you're creating something, well, you're either creating something brand new or you're trying to copy something. It's like, we have this already. This has been made. If you're going to make something new, like, do it. Like, do something unique and, like, make mistakes and run with them and see what happens. That's so many audio, not phenomenons, but, like, iconic audio sounds came from mistakes. Like the Phil Collins talkback mic being left on. And,
Yeah.
you know, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, that was where the gated reverb thing came from. Yeah.
Stop. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, you know the story. I don't know it. I don't know it like super well. I just know that they left the talkback mic on, and it was, I guess it was getting recorded to a channel or something like that. Or maybe he just liked the way it sounded in the headphones. He's like, hey, what are you doing back there? And they're like, oh shoot, the talkback mic's on. He's like, no, leave it.
That's great.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
So
that created the sound of like a generation.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
If you think about it, Phil Collins kind of took drum sounds from the 70s into the 80s, you know, because he was kind of like of that era. With who he was with,
It was Genesis.
Genesis. And he was one of those prog rock bands. But they were, you know, they started in the mid 70s or something like that. But then you think Phil Collins and it's like all 80s and then the Tarzan soundtrack, so 90s. Which he went off on. He had,
unbelievable. We
no
owe
business.
that man a lot.
He had no business going that hard on the Tarzan soundtrack.
It's so true.
Glad he did.
I'm glad he did.
Oh no, I had something so great to say. I lost it. Yeah, it's true. Feels great.
Yeah, like he ushered in, I mean, he probably was the linchpin of, you know, what defined the next generation of drum sounds. You know, from going from that like real dry 70s sound into this really like reverby, gigantic, you know, hair metal 80s sound.
Yeah, but it's those mistakes and it's those things that are outside the box. I was thinking about that this morning when I was setting up for this podcast. It was before this. And like, if we decided that there was good music and bad music, music would die, right? Like everything would be cookie cutter. Everything would be like what pop music is now. Like it's formulaic. It's just like, if you do this, it's likely going to get the most people to listen to it, and that's probably going to get the most money, and that's the only way we're going to survive. So we probably have to follow this formula to make a song. Like, well, shit, then there's no room for mistakes. There's no room for creativity. And the thing that moves music forwards and gives it like the tentacles of life is like these things that pop out, like leaving the talk back on or playing a wrong note and like, oh, actually that sounded kind of good. Like, what if we went towards that wrong note? No, can't do the wrong note. The formula doesn't want it.
That's right.
Yeah.
A key change in a pop song? Absolutely not.
Doable.
No, people won't listen to that. We're not going to make money on that.
Well, I feel like, I don't know if I can put words to this exactly, but it's almost about optimizing and maximizing the wrong things in music.
Yeah,
where
like leaning into it.
The production's great and, you know, melodies should be very catchy and the rhythm should be groovy and people want to like dance to it. But if you try to optimize all of those only with the intention of like, how far can we push this up? You end up with like pop music, which pop music's fine. Everybody likes it enough, you know, but you're missing something in the depth because you're not paying attention to the story of a piece of music.
Mm-hmm.
You're not paying attention to, where did that come from, or what are the story. Honestly, like that's the biggest thing that's missing. We're looking too much at the surface level things, and we're excelling up when we should be excelling out and down, or pioneering like out and down. And that's something I'm passionate about when it comes to music recording or production, is less on, how can we maximize things and make everything perfect, but like, where do you come from? Like, what is your story as an artist, and like, why are you bringing the song to life? Like, what's important about that to you?
Yeah.
So that stuff's missing nowadays, oftentimes.
It is. And I think that's a lot of what the best producers here do. And that's something I didn't think about till I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had people like Connor come on, and he's like, well, it seemed like Connor Gaylor, he broke down one of his productions on this. And he was like, well, I wanted the intro of the song to be like, she's sitting in a room and playing her acoustic guitar, and you can hear the car driving by, and there's birds. And then
she closes the window,
and
a filter comes over.
Yeah.
Oh,
the background noise. The background noise gets filtered out a little bit, but there's still like the low rumble of the cars and the horns honking.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
It's like a storytelling element. And there's and sometimes I think if you don't work on a lot of pop music, like you can probably relate to this, Taylor, you'll have an emotion that you want to convey, and you write a bunch of music that conveys that emotion, and then you go, oh, I got to put this into words now. I got to I have to tell you about it, where I'm that way so often, where I'm like, I have this real raw emotion, and I will write a song and I don't have any words to it, but I'm like, well, this is me saying it, but then you have to, it's kind of like the opposite direction of, if you're working on a pop record, you want to figure out how to bring that depth and that storytelling into the music without it just being...
It's hard.
Yeah, super
It's impossible, too. I mean, this is a weird statement, but language is pretty limited.
It is.
It's flawed in that there's not always that exact right word for what you're feeling, what you're trying to say, and music has so much more power when it comes to that. You can say things that you've never experienced before. Music in one song can give you an emotion that you've never had before, and it's that one specific color of emotion that you can't get anywhere else. So it's like, okay, now add words that it's like so blunt and barbaric.
It's very clunky. It's like, oh, now I have to describe it to you. Like, I just felt it. Like this chord progression and this melody is the story, or that's how I feel. That's the emotion. Now I have to just describe it, I guess.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it is
how
very
that can
cool.
happen.
Music is pretty neat.
It's
I like it.
Why?
That's why we all do it.
Like three notes and like a minor key feels completely different than like a major. Like what a weird thing.
It is
why
weird.
would that ever happen?
Just like the emotional release that you can get from that too, from just sitting there on your bed,
and you can
you're
relate
in a bad
to three
mood about
notes.
something, and then you play a chord progression. You're like, yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. No words have been spoken.
Yeah, those three notes is exactly what I meant.
It's 100% how I feel right now.
That's cool. Well, yeah, because it can reflect what you're feeling on the inside, and even just like hearing what you feel on the outside can be really validating. Like getting it outside of yourself, and
well, it's like we don't feel in words too. And I think a lot of people think, they feel in words.
Right.
Like, no.
Words are just like, we're just guessing and tossing it at our thoughts. And like, this is happening and this is right. And then thoughts happen, and then we have to apply words to our thoughts. And
it's like a rough approximation of what's happening inside you.
I think it's a Buddhist thing, but it's like, you don't communicate with words, you communicate with feelings, that kind of idea. Like, you feel what everybody else is feeling in the room.
That's why so much of our language so much of our meaning is conveyed through body language, facial expressions.
We would absolutely fail if we only had language, like literally just language, because anything can get misconstrued. You can say the same thing 100 different ways. Yes, for example, like yes, or yes, or
yes.
All kinds, right, or whatever the word is. But without the emotion, without the body language that you're saying, you don't have any direction or any direction for what you're actually trying to say.
Yeah,
interesting. That's why music's cool.
What's going on, everybody? I'm interrupting the podcast because I've finally launched what I've been talking about on this podcast for a very long time, Groove MPL, Groove Music Production Lessons. This website is focused on two main things: how you can use Ableton on stage as playback, and independent music producers in Nashville. How do they do it? How do they get clients? How do they work out the contracts? So every month there's a new course available on the site, and we got courses like Adam Leeds diving into how he has been able to produce for just monster artists here like Starlito, Young Buck, and a bunch of different artists. We got the drummer from Maggie Rose, Timothy Burkhead, showing how he uses Ableton and his SPD pad to control the live show and have it run seamlessly. Austin Cannon, who's breaking down how do the contracts work between you and the artist. These courses really are here because they cover topics that are hard to find, and they're important topics that are necessary to get you from point A to point B. That information in between shouldn't be hard to find, and having it in one central location I think is super important, so I'm very excited to share it with you all. Again, you can sign up at groovempl.com with the discount code GGP for Garden Groove Podcast, and you'll get 50% off your first month. I'm looking forward to meeting you all.
It's cool, and it is like an extension of what you're feeling. Like you're seeing, or you're hearing what they're feeling. It's a cool thing.
So cool.
It's a cool thing. We're not even high right now.
Dead sober. Just loving music. Well, you had another one that you were going to show us.
Yeah.
Do we want to pull that one up?
Yeah.
That one's going to be, if you go over.
In recent?
Yeah, just go to recent. It'll be.
This guy?
Yep.
Thank you guys for pulling these stems in. That's awesome.
No problem.
That was Jackson. I just downloaded it.
So, let's see. I'll play it first, and then if there's any person. So this is an instrumental for an artist I've been working with for a while. Her name is Maddie DiMatteo. She's a great singer.
Talked about her before. I think
Last
time I saw you.
In progress. Just a couple sections of the song. And like I said, just the instrumental.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's play it and then see what we want to dive into or pull from it. Yeah, so those are the basic sections right now. So there's a verse, intro, there's a pre-chorus, and then a chorus or a drop. Those are three things.
Who's doing bass?
That's all.
Is that all
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too.
Yeah, I don't. For some reason, like I love bass lines so much for pop music. I think they are really like the linchpin and everything. So that's probably what I spend the most time like composing or those bass lines. But that's Contact. That's Scarby bass. Like
That's what I use too.
Yep.
It really straddles the line between live bass and synth bass. Like it's got like the expression of a live bass, and it's kind of got that like Seinfeld kind of it's just got that like tone a little bit to it. But then it gets in the like sub region, you can kind of feel the more synthiness of it, and it sort of keeps it in that pop realm.
That's interesting.
That's what I noticed.
You got a lot of options with the Contact one too. Like you can control the amp, EQ.
That's right.
You can control the bass EQ.
It's pretty believable a lot of the
Yeah.
times. You can tell just like with the feel and the groove sometimes, especially if there's not like drums and bass. Real drums and bass together end up being so different than synth drums and bass just because of that relationship between the two. But out of all I mean, piano checks out because it's either you're mocking up a piano on a keyboard instrument, and so you end up, because of the performance and the way that you're performing that instrument, you get like believable sounds.
Yeah.
And then synth bass is probably next, believable, most believable. But yeah.
Contact piano too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I have the same library because of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's so
forget
good.
the
There's a
name
bunch
of
of
it.
great stuff in there.
There's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like the very last one, the blue one, the ethereal keys.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Separate
Like-
kind of feel, but
I like blending stuff too. You can get, I mean, there's unlimited sounds you can get with any of this. So, and it's all about having a goal in mind is really helpful. You know, like what is this sound serving? And if it's not serving, then take it out. Like this wash synth, as cool as it is, I probably went back and forth a bunch of times on whether or not it should be in here. So, like, on its own,
that's what I was hearing.
it's cool. And then the question is that a mixed thing that needs to get placed in the right spot? You know, is it better without it? So when I'm producing stuff, I'm always taking an axe to whatever I made and like trimming as much as possible, and starting with a lot and then bringing it down and condensing. So
Right.
you can always test, see if it sounds better without it. I think brought down the mix a little bit, it sounded really good. So
Yeah, it adds like a little something interesting to it.
Mm-hmm.
More interesting. How do you get the pitch shift on it?
That
It's just in
is
the plugin?
massive, and you tie the attack of the waveform to the pitch itself. So every time the synth starts up, it reverse pitch shifts.
Right.
So it turns on. It has like a little dip
Oh, cool.
as it turns on. Yep.
I always wonder if like people are doing it in the and it doesn't matter, but if people are doing it in the synth or if they're doing it in the program, like Ableton has a shifter. You know, sometimes I'll hop between the two, or I'll use like a little alter boy too, because that has like a little grittiness to it if you're pitch shift.
That's a
Just
cool way to
interesting.
do the same thing. Is you automate the color of the reverb or the mix of or the size of the reverb. If
Yeah.
that moves as the synth volume turns on, they get this cool little like warbly pitch bendy thing.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. With reverb? Mm-hmm. I knew you could do it with delay, not reverb.
That might be in here, honestly. That might be tucked in there. Yeah.
Oh, that's
you hear that?
cool.
It's like the room size changes or something really quick. So it goes from like really big room, you can hear like kind of like suck it
Yeah.
back out. So,
I've never thought about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a
So
cool
I
idea.
think it goes from short to long, maybe. Yep.
And then these synth basses, is that just like the drop section?
Yeah. So
One is like in there longer than the other two are kind of like just in there for a second.
yeah. So this one's kind of like the foundational bass, just holding down the root notes. Synth bass. And then I think one of these is more of like a sound effect. I believe this one is taking that role. Let's see.
That one.
That's just got a little bit of grind on like the very beginning of the verse. And then this one. That's a sound
cool.
effect.
That's the
And-
one.
Yeah. And
Is that massive too?
yes. Yep. I think all the synths are massive on this except for the keys.
What's that wave? What's that? Is that how you say that?
Did you just do the slowdown thing in Pro Tools?
What did I do on this one?
The
listen to it.
Vera, or what is it called?
Oh, Verispeed.
Vera Speed, yeah. You can just go.
That's cool.
No, I
It
think
sounds like you did it in massive.
I did in massive. I think the rate of the low pass filter is like high, and then it gets turned down, and and then
creates that.
might have enhanced it with like various speed, just like stretch things out a little bit. But I think I think everything is in massive. It had like automation on the speed of the filter.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So kind of like I wanted to like roll up, like have a pitch bend up, and then just kind of like flutter out and stutter out. And I actually snuck in a bunch of program notes on the like synth or the string bass to kind of enhance that too. Let's see if you can hear it. so it should be the same rate. It's like 16th note triplets or 32nd note triplets, whatever it is, but it gives it just a little bit more attack.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
It's a good idea.
Love blending stuff like that.
How much do you mess with, like, I feel like anytime I'm messing with a synth, it's either, I'm going to say it wrong, smooth or triangle. I do one of those two.
Sine wave or triangle wave or saw wave.
Saw wave,
that's what it is.
But like I use serum all the time.
Yeah.
I've been messing with acid. That's another wave.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mess a lot with variations on those? Or do you mainly stick with the basic two?
Yeah, it's you get so many sounds just from a sine wave and then affecting it in different ways.
Yeah.
If you want like a specific color or effect, Massive has a bunch of like weird sounds, like woodsy sounds and almost like vocoder that you can tuck in there. But I always find that your sound ends up getting pretty vague and messy if you're blending too many things together. So I try to stick to just what you said, like square wave, sine wave, saw wave. Just keep it really simple to start, and then modify it. And the biggest thing I think is like the envelope. There's a huge difference between pluck sound and then one of those like underwater scooping sounds that kind of like swoops its way in every time you play it. And it could be the exact same sound, but just the envelope makes such a big difference.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
So are almost all of these synth sounds done in Massive then?
Yeah, I think all the synths are massive. The only thing that's not massive is the brass, the keys, and the Scarby. But yeah, all the synths are in massive. So
what's that flutter sound?
That's that's massive. That's it's got kind of like a nice synth that I had, and then gave it oscillation on the low pass filter. It's got like 16th note oscillation, I think.
Oh yeah, that's like a very Juno-esque sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
It makes me think of Tom Misch for some reason.
Yeah,
I know it's not very Tom Misch, but it makes me think of Tom Misch.
I could totally see that. He's got a new EP coming out. I just saw.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Like this year.
He's good.
Yeah. And then you got to have the low brass on. This is from Opus. This sounds so good.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just
Let's go.
It's aggressive. It's angry. I love it. I love this drop. It's so much fun.
Opus.
Yeah.
I've always wondered where good brass comes from. I've never really needed to use it yet. Like anytime I use brass, I use a guy. I'll use Jordan sometimes.
Yep.
But sorry, the sniffles. It's hard to find like a good one of those. What do you do for strings? I know there's no strings, but
I actually like the contact strings, like the session strings are really nice. And then East West has really good strings that you can mess around and get like pretty believable sounds. Depends on, and same with any instrument, I would say if you're going to go for a live instrumentalist, which I always advocate for if you can do that, or whatever you're like planning for, it depends on what the intention of the sound is at the end of the day. And this brass sound, I didn't really want it to sound organic. I want it to almost sound like synthy and brash. And so I think the velocity is just like cranked to 100. And it's just angry, right?
Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't want to set up a session for that. So with strings too, if you sometimes I want to go for more of like a sampled string sound, and then I'll keep it almost as like chordal strings, as if somebody's playing like a mellotron or something, and I'll use session strings for that and put filters on it, yada yada. Versus orchestral strings, I'm doing like a violin track, a viola track, cello, bass, and I'm programming all the different notes separately on different MIDI tracks and plugging those in, and then treating them differently, trying to make it sound organic and realistic, like it's an actual orchestra.
right.
And then you can top line it with an actual violinist, and you get pretty close to it being like a real sound, like believable sound.
Maybe that's a good transition, because your thing with Fox tracks is kind of leaning towards that of just like getting real musicians to get real sounds, and you know people from all over that can do that. That's kind of your whole deal. What's your pitch of Fox Tracks? Like, what's your breakdown of it?
Well, I mean, to be honest, Fox Tracks has gone through like many changes over the years.
100%. Yeah.
So
rebrands and
yeah, it's crazy. It's funny. In 2025, in like January to April, like the date to be determined, 10 years.
Wow.
10 years, which
dude.
It's just wild. And I mean, it's 10 years of like, I'm going to do this. This is when I'm starting, and like working to get clients.
Yes.
So it's like, that's the inception. But to that time, it's gone through so many different phases. We've had the online instrument recording section, which has been awesome. And you reach out to us, and we'll pair you with a guitar player to record a solo on your song, basically. Right. We've done so much like remote and online production, so same thing, but working one-on-one with an artist, and then having this sort of arsenal or team of musicians that I work with to do arrangements and record on their song. But nowadays, I'm honestly like this move to Nashville that's coming up.
Yes, sir.
I've done so much work with venues and promoters and live events, doing live recordings. That's kind of the route that I want to head in. And I think the mission statement nowadays is music that makes an impact. So I've worked with plenty of artists, and I worked with lots of amazing, talented musicians, and the music that I get the most satisfaction in working on is music that has meaning and almost like a cause or an awareness to it.
Yeah.
So we did. You heard about this, the Marshall Fire in Boulder happened, and we got a bunch of artists together, and we did the Above the Ashes fundraiser.
It was great.
Stuff like that is what really lights me up nowadays, and so I really want to try and drive in that direction as much as I can. So music with an impact, really talented artists helping share music with a story, like we were talking about before. So if you have something that you want to share, thinking of Jenny Ray, for example.
Yep.
Shannon Scott.
Yeah.
Yep. Her music is so important because it's talking about something that we all feel, but we don't bring up to the surface.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I want to help those artists tell their story and bring their music to life, because music actually has an impact when it has that direction to it.
Yeah.
So that's where we're heading. Fox Tracks has gone through so many different iterations and changes, but I think that's the most important thing for producers or musicians, is not to get tunnel vision, be open to like change and flexibility. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to kind of go down this path that wasn't just straight ahead and take on all these different opportunities in different ways. And it's been great. So, but it's crazy. Next year is in January is 10 years of all kinds of stuff.
We should do an event
It'd be fun.
for it.
Mm-hmm. I'd really like to.
Little party. Let's go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Is there an operational Chuck E. Cheese in Nashville?
Yeah.
There is?
Yeah, I've passed one at some point.
Dude,
We
they
go
should
to
have
Red
like
Robin or
they should
something.
have like
Doesn't
an
have to check.
adult Friday night Chuck E. Cheese. Like
No, we were saying the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah,
Dude.
Saying that
we'll do it
last
there.
night.
Oh,
We'll do
yeah.
it there.
That's
Let's go to the Rainforest Cafe.
I've been wanting to do an adult Rainforest Cafe trip for years.
Can
Since I
we
was
make it a
legally-
kids' Rainforest Cafe trip? Can we just all
Only
be kids?
order off the kids menu, but drink
Yeah.
as much as you want.
I think it'd be so funny. Like, what's the event for tonight? Oh, we're selling a 10th anniversary of like his company like, at the Rainforest Cafe. Like, yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'll get the kids chicken tenders, please, and a Shirley Temple.
And we will be getting the lava volcano, the chocolate lava volcano cake
Yes, obviously.
with the sparklers in it.
It's gonna rain soon. It's gonna rain.
Nobody
soon.
commits to the ambiance harder than Rainforest Cafe. You got all the animals. There's always just mist. There's just mist around.
You guys are talking about this, and my partner here was so excited about this yesterday. I have no clue what you're talking
Wait,
about.
you've never been to Rainforest
That's
Cafe?
what started this whole
the
thing.
slightest idea what Rainforest
She
Cafe
was like-
is. Like,
Yeah, tell the story.
oh yeah,
Because you were driving
yeah.
in town.
Here's the story. I'm driving to go to Two Step Tuesday yesterday with you guys, which
Honky Tonk Tuesday. I call it Two-Step Tuesday. I led you astray.
Two Step Tuesday is a great name. If it's
Yeah,
not
sorry.
that, it's a honky tonk.
You're
Tuesday.
driving to it.
Driving to
It's actually called Honky Tonk Roundup, I think. Yeah. I saw a sign and I was like, no way, that's not true. It's Honky Tonk Tuesday. So we don't know what that shit's called.
Oh, man. It just goes to show it doesn't matter. Like, spend too long trying to come up with a band name. Like, get some shows, man.
So
The dance. We went to the sock hop yesterday. We had a great time. I'm driving there, and I've had some car accidents in my life, and I'm a little bit jumpy.
You had a
in the
bad
car.
one in 2018.
Oh,
Your back.
we won't go
That's
there.
like around the time I met you too, and I remember like
Yes, sir.
your back was hurting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a rough one. People in roundabout. I still going through a roundabout. I'm like,
Yeah, dude.
like I'm coming. And just to be
make
clear,
way.
not my fault. The guy was like going 50 in residential neighborhood.
Jeez, dude.
Okay. Anyway, we're not gonna go down that route.
Yeah.
But yesterday, I'm driving to Two-Step Honky Tonk Tuesdays,
That's right.
and Kira's sitting in the passenger seat next to me, quiet as a mouse. All of a sudden, I had a heart attack basically on the highway, and she's like, "Oh my god, they have a rainforest cafe." I'm like, "That's great. Can we talk for a second?"
Can we temper our reactions while in the traffic? That's so funny. Yeah, they have one at Opry Mills. They
That's
have one
right.
at is it just Colorado Mills, or
I don't know.
every city I've lived in has had a Mills mall. Growing up, we had Katie Mills.
Do we have a Mills?
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
Are we Millsed?
Millsed out.
Millsed up. Yeah, in it's in Lakewood. It's kind of in between
Really?
Lakewood and Golden. Yeah,
We lived there our whole lives. We don't
Yeah.
even know that.
I think it's just Colorado Mills.
Shit. All right.
Yeah,
I think you've been hunting for Mills on purpose.
dude, they keep finding me everywhere I go.
Write
There's a Mills
Mills
mall.
on a piece of paper and just
Yeah,
push it right next to the
where
sign.
is the next one? All right, I'm moving there.
Flatirons Mills? Like a little piece of paper next to it.
I've been following him around. You know, I'm a big fan. Really, I've been going for the Rainforest Cafe. I've just been.
That's right.
If the city has a Rainforest Cafe, I'll live there.
Nice.
It's your
Yeah.
10-year. Come back.
Full circle.
You've done it for 10 years. Yeah, it's so cool. Well, so we were talking at the coffee shop that maybe you want to go into like recording like more orchestral stuff. Whatever that idea was. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Right? Like doing like recording covers, but like a more maybe mahogany cinematic type
Oh, yes.
kind of deal.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the ensembles that I want to put together. So, long story short, I want to get more into live organic. This recording is happening right now, kind of like special moment recording, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's so valuable, and especially when it's paired with like a live event, you go and see this live recording happening
Yeah.
in person, and then you're part of the album, like kind of snarky puppy, but any
Yeah.
genre of music.
Mm.
So one of those ideas is you're a songwriter, you have all of your like fully produced songs, which those have great value for listening on like Spotify or like streaming or whatever. But maybe you want to take one of those songs and adapt it for an acoustic ensemble. So the idea would be it'd be the Soulful Woods ensemble, and you'd have
Yeah.
upright bass or cello or piano or mandolin, string section, backup vocals, maybe like. The drum sound is so specific, I have to describe it. It'd be like big, open, resonant kick drum and like low snare and like washy, dark cymbals.
Brushes.
Almost like percussive drums, right?
Yeah.
Like brushes or
Yeah.
like very soft but open. And you would bring your song in with a chart without and practice it with the band and then record a single or an album or do a live show with this ensemble backing you up.
Yeah.
Just to hear, like, let your song breathe in a different way. So
Right.
That's cool.
one of the endeavors that, I'm excited to get that rolling, and I think it's coming up next year.
I'm excited to see it, dude. I think like with how much you've been able to do in Colorado, like to see what you're gonna do here is gonna be tenfold.
Thanks,
I'm
man.
so excited to see it.
Thank you. I
Like you're
appreciate that.
perfectly fitted for an environment like this where it's like it's very sociable, like it's very communal.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows everybody. Like it's so cool. Like we can go anywhere and like we're likely gonna know someone at the place that we go to.
Mm-hmm.
That was you in Colorado though, which is not that it's not communal, but it's less so.
It's more arm's length.
Yeah.
We've talked about that.
I'm
Yeah,
interested to hear
we gotta
that.
go.
That's fascinating.
We talked about that on the Thanksgiving episode,
Yeah.
which should not be watched by any person.
Blake went back and watched it. He's like, it was pretty good, actually. He said
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
it,
It was okay.
it was a a chaotic
It
experience.
was like 5 hours of chaos.
Yeah.
And then, like we
5
used like an
hours.
hour.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it. I love it.
We were just
The
drinking
jams.
so much.
Okay, yeah. So we did this whole Thanksgiving episode, and like we bring a table in here, and Jackson brought hors d'oeuvres,
Yeah,
And
I
I
brought
brought-
deviled eggs.
and I brought
Amazing.
Hawaiian rolls.
Amazing.
We had like bigger plans for what we were gonna make, and then we forgot to get stuff for the Hawaiian rolls, so we just had the rolls, and they weren't
So
I'm
cooked.
gonna get the turkey. We're gonna get this and this.
Yeah.
Like, we got
Didn't
deviled
happen.
eggs and rolls.
Perfect. Dude, I'm surprised you didn't bring
whiskey.
your classic salad setup.
Oh my gosh! Me and Max would do a like weekly dinner during COVID to keep each other sane, and Max would be like, "Yeah, I'm like making these steaks this time," or like, "I'm diving into I'm gonna make these tacos that I figured out this recipe." And like, "Cool, I'm gonna bring a salad that is from Safeway."
It's like a Caesar salad kit. You
It's
just
like a
dump it in there.
sugar salad.
I
with,
wouldn't
like, poppy
accept
seeds.
anything different, man.
And I brought it like 5 times, so I didn't know what else to bring.
It got to the point where it'd be like, hey, if you feel like bringing something, like that's great, like whatever you're feeling, and then you'd be like, yeah, I'll bring something. I don't know what yet. It could be anything. I'll see how I'm feeling when I get into Safeway in the salad section.
It's gonna be a salad for sure.
Exact same
Max is
bag.
like, okay.
Every time. I would build the
That's
recipes
funny.
around that. Actually.
Yeah, like okay, we know salad's gonna be covered. So what else are we gonna eat?
Max is like salt baying a steak when I walk in. I crack open this plastic bag of salad. The dressing's in another plastic bag. You got a bowl that I can put this in?
You got scissors, man.
2 of us are playing the cooking game, and only one of us is winning. It's you. It's you.
It was so good though. It's such a good salad. I can't find
yeah.
it here.
Oh yeah. No, it
That's
can't
funny.
be topped.
You gotta have during COVID. That was like so important to have a weekly ritual with people.
You needed it, dude.
It's important now.
That
it's
was
important
you?
now. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
you should have. Preferably, I'd like to be having 2 or 3 times a week. I'd like to be hanging out with friends.
Yes.
That's what the statistics say.
Yeah.
Is you need to see the squad 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I think this is a cool concept. So I was listening to a podcast, and the guy was Oprah's right-hand man for years. And he said that she didn't really, like, she would follow news, but the way that she got her information in the world, she would have these dinners with like 20 people would come. They'd be all these different industries, like film and TV and media, market, whatever. And they would just have conversations around the table, and that was her kind of like pulse on everything.
Yeah. Just
I
kind of what's
love
going
that.
on. Yeah.
And you like invite new people every time. Like you will consistently meet, like learn things from each of these people and have an idea of what's going on in the town from different perspectives.
Yeah.
It's almost a more accurate read on everything that's going on than like news in some ways, because
Right.
it's like from the people.
From the
Yeah.
from the source.
I love that idea. I want
Especially
to
like in your local community, what's happening,
Right.
like what's going on with everybody.
right. Exactly.
I think it's very true. Yeah, we were saying on the maybe it's kind of the same thing. We were saying on the Thanksgiving podcast. There I was reading a Tim Ferriss book, and he was interviewing a guy. I don't remember who it was. It was some like rich investor dude, whatever. It doesn't matter. And he said his best investment was this cabin, where he would bring people that he wanted to build relationships with to the cabin, as opposed to just getting coffee with them. Because like he was like, that's the cabin was the best investment I ever made, because you're actually making a relationship with someone if you spend a weekend with them in a cabin,
Yes. That's
whatever,
true.
fishing and playing puzzles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I
Like
that.
that's an actual, you're building quality time together, you know, as opposed to you got coffee 8 times.
Right.
It's just different.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
We were
It's
talking
actually
about
not.
that when we got coffee, ironically, but we've known each other a long time. So.
Also, all of our
We
friends have
all-
been found over coffee.
yeah.
We got coffee, and then you introduced me to him, and we got coffee,
Yeah.
and
Did
here we
get
are.
coffee?
Well, no, I saw you playing drums on Pearl Street. I was like,
That's
I know
right,
that
that's
guy.
right. It was like a winter gig, and I was wearing no, it was Halloween.
Yeah.
I was dressed as a dinosaur, probably.
Sounds right.
my dinosaur
Oh, I
onesie.
saw you guys dressed up as on Halloween. You're a Teletubby.
I was a Teletubby,
Oh my
yeah.
god, that's so good.
It was such a fun party.
Lala, I think, or
The green
Dipsy.
one.
Dipsy, I
You were
think.
Dipsy, yeah. I think that's right.
But we were talking about, making connections with many people and just kind of like getting a base.
Outer circle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Outer circle of people. That's valuable. You want to like know people and just like have connections, but they're not as solid as, if you meet somebody like several times or take somebody up to a cabin. Those are the relationships where cool things happen.
Yeah, it's where the meat is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people both parties have to put in the time and interest in the other person to get to that point, and then something can grow from it.
Yep. Well, I think, me and Max were talking about this at Living Waters. Shout out Living Waters and their drip copy of Sober.
We should get a sponsorship from them.
Dude,
you frequent the
I
Living Waters.
practically endorse them with how often I go. But we were talking there, and I feel like the group that we've formulated with Mike and Brad and Gray and everybody like that, I feel like more, and Dan, I feel like most of the stuff that we've gotten has come from them. I think that's true.
Most
Kind
of
of.
what?
Just like work.
Yeah.
Work
for
and just
sure.
like opportunities, I guess, have
Definitely.
come from them,
Mhm.
as opposed to people in that outer circle.
Yeah.
I
Word
guess
of mouth.
obviously, but
Definitely.
Referrals have so much more weight than like cold
Referrals.
outreach or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah. What's your saying? You can either sell to someone once or
Oh yeah.
I ask you to say this
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So
frequently.
it's
I guess it's
actually
a
a
different
guy
deal.
that my dad literally worked for in the car business, which is not known to be the most upstanding business. There was a guy that I don't know if my dad worked directly for him or if it was like somebody that he knew that worked for the guy, but basically he said, "You can fuck everybody once." Or so like basically you can screw somebody over one time. You can screw everyone over one
sure.
time and get as extract as much money out of them as possible once.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you can build a relationship and actually have a substantial relationship with somebody that's mutually beneficial,
Mm-hmm.
and they become a customer for life.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in music, it's such a communal thing. It's a non-business thing that we're trying to make into a business, that there's even another layer to that, where I think it's like kind of like circling back to what we said at the very beginning, where it's so important to invest in the relationship without any expectation for what monetary gain there's going to be.
Yeah, man. That's the
Just
biggest
have
thing.
the relationship
Yes.
and trust that if you do that enough times, the money will come.
Well,
And it'll come from places you don't expect it to come from.
that's exactly right.
It's always where you don't expect it.
And you're gonna have
Yeah.
so many more friends.
And the more you,
And, like,
the more you
you're gonna
look
be
for
way
something-
happier.
Yeah.
The more you look for something, whether it's a romantic relationship or work or money, like it doesn't help sometimes.
It
Like
runs away from you.
It runs away. And it's funny. One of the first things you said to me at the beginning of this podcast session is I'm known as like the networking guy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that word I have like an aversion to, like networking.
I think
Yeah.
you should.
I think everybody should a little bit. There's such a big difference between like going out to a venue and like pulling out your business cards, like, oh, what do you do? That's nice. I do this and this and this and this. And like, if you ever knew, it just feels like disingenuine. And
Yeah.
like, who are you going to hire? The person that you love spending time with who happens to play drums? Or are you going to go on Google and be like, world's best drummer, and like go on 10 websites? And
Yeah.
like, no, it's the person that you have the relationship with that you can trust them and you know they're going to do your song justice.
Yeah.
Just to get to that point with people. So, and you have to meet people without the intention of trying to profit off of them immediately, right? Just want to meet people. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can
It's
do.
not like, what can this person give me? It's just, is this person someone I get along with?
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Ask what you could do for your country.
Yeah.
Or that random guy that just got off stage that
Yeah.
you want to strike up a conversation with.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
you like to sit.
But there is like, for some reason, like an untrustworthy taste to someone that's like trying to sell you on something.
Yeah.
And you even get that like when you're scrolling on Instagram, like you know instantly if someone is trying to sell you on something on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, guys? Like, oh, next one.
Yeah.
That's
Or it's like, or it's just like maybe a little overdone, I guess. And it's just like, I just want a cat video right now, dude. Like, I don't want you to sell me your new like,
Right.
library service.
Or you get like the guy selling the the botted playlist placements that'll like DM you and be like, your music is an inspiration. And you're like, dude.
Oh my God. In that voice, that's
literally,
so good.
that's exactly. I got one the other day. That's what the guy said. He's like, your music is, it's like broken English too. So he's like, your music is an inspiration. It drives to lift and inspire. And I'm like, dude, what?
like thank you.
Thanks, man.
But
and then of course you go to his bio and it's like, learn how to get 50,000 monthly listeners by subscribing to my playlist, or
Of
paying
course.
for plays. And it's just
man.
you can see just even in the compliment, you're like, you didn't listen to my music,
Yeah,
dude.
it's
Yeah.
disingenuous though. But like you can have that in real life too.
Yeah.
When someone is
Yeah.
they're peacocking a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh well, dang it, dude. Like I just wanted to like
So-
talk.
That's an interesting question. Like, where is the balance? Because you have the people who peacock, like you're saying, they show up and they're pompous and they're almost like puffing themselves up too much to get something from you.
Where they're here
Yes.
instead of here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you have the people who go out and they're shy and they're in the corner and they're not talking about, and they will also miss out on opportunities. So
Because they're here instead of here.
right. So how do you know where the balance is?
I'll pull a real estate thing. They tell you in real estate, they say you don't want to be a secret agent. So if you're a real estate agent, you want people to know that you're in real estate because there's
Yes.
so many people in real estate. It's so
That's good.
oversaturated. And in the same way, music is oversaturated. So many people know how to produce music. So many people know how to record a nice sounding track. So it's like you need people to know that you do it. And you want it to be, for me, I want that to be a core part of my identity. Not
Yes,
only
that's
because
good.
I identify with it and it's what I enjoy, I want other people to identify me with the thing that I love
Right,
and the
yeah,
thing that I'm
right.
proud of. So it's like, I think there's a way to do that without peacocking,
Yeah.
where you're just like, yeah, because I think my approach when people ask me if I'm like at a show talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, man, so like you play or whatever, that classic question that you get asked in Nashville twice a day, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm working on some records, I always keep it, I'm working on some projects. I usually like drop that I just finished up on something and maybe I've got some things coming up and so make my own music and just kind of like, I always just like keep it chill, but I want them to know, like it's like
Right,
give them a
right.
little Rolodex of like things that you do, but don't like, it doesn't have to be like, yeah, man. So like, are you trying to get in the studio soon? Or, like,
Yes.
I mean, and you can
Yeah.
even ask those questions in a non-probing way where it's just more like, yeah, like what's up with you? Are you working on any projects? You got new music coming out? Make it about them and about what they're interested in.
Right.
And then they'll offer up the information. If they're looking for a place to record, they might say, yeah, you know what? I'm actually kind of looking around for somebody to master my record.
Yeah.
That I've
And then
picked
they
up
know
so many
you.
clients
Yep.
that way.
But they want to work with someone friendly.
Yeah.
That's gonna care
Right.
about what they do too. And not that just care about what they themselves do.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I can do this, and this, and this. And like never ask at all what they do. Like, why would you want
Yeah.
to work with that
Yeah.
person? Never.
People love talking about themselves. Everyone
do.
loves to talk about themselves.
Yeah,
so
I
ask
think I
people
hate
about
it.
Even when people ask questions about somebody else, in like a non-derogatory way, like they're trying to find something about themselves that they can relate to you with. Like,
Sure.
if you ask somebody a question, you want to find what the common ground is. And I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day about, you go out to party and like if somebody isn't directly asking you questions, like finding the time and the opportunity to like talk about yourself and like be proud of it. And
Yeah.
I think it's just being genuine and feeling comfortable with like knowing yourself really well and then seeking to I think that's it, find a common ground. So whether you're like asking questions of the other person or you're presenting information that they might like latch onto, like you're just trying to connect, which sounds so obvious when you say it out loud, but like that's the goal. And some people miss that. They're just like one-way conversations. You ever met somebody like that?
yeah.
Right.
Or they want to give you their verbal business card. They want to give you a verbal business card and they start, I did this and I worked with this guy and this, have you heard of this dude?
It's the
and then
name dropping, dude.
the name- don't
That's
name
an
drop-
old school thing. Like
Yeah.
if you work with a lot of people that were in the scene back in the day, they'll call out people by their full names.
Yeah.
I worked like with Denny Reeves, like I don't know who that is, dude.
Yeah,
but like
exactly.
Yeah.
he drops the full name so it seems a little bit more legit. Like I'm sure that's really cool.
You know
I'm sure
Patty
it's really cool.
Thompson? He was on every session in 74.
It's cool.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think that's cool. But and I think some people mistake people saying what they do as being peacocking.
Right.
Like, I'm just fucking saying what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're just saying what you're into.
But there's a limit to it too.
Yeah.
Like if that's all you do, like all you do is like try to promote yourself and that's all you try to do, then it comes off wrong. You wouldn't want to work with that guy because they don't care about you. They never ask a single question about you. You wouldn't want to work with that person in the first place. But it's not, there's nothing wrong with saying like, yeah, like I fucking wrote this album last week or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's the same issue with music that we were talking about with pop music versus everything else. It's almost like having the final product or the exterior without any foundation or context underneath. Like if you're just spewing facts about yourself, but you don't really care what the other person thinks or does, there's no story or personality to like the words that are come through. And same thing with like pop music. If some pop music, you know, the hyper produced, you know, optimized pop music is just all about what does it look like from the outside and not about like what the meaning is or what the story is. And I'm obsessed with storytelling, and I read a couple books about it like
that is your
years ago.
deal.
And man, it's so important. Like that's been going on in our culture for years and years and years and years. And it's how we like relate to each other.
Yeah.
So you have to be interested in the other person's story. Cool. You have to be interested in the story of the song too. And you have to be proud of what your story is and share that. And because then you can go past it's good or bad. It's just like, this is what's happening. That's it.
Yeah. And sometimes you end up in a conversation with somebody where I've kind of make it a game sometimes where there's somebody, you know, you're talking to somebody and you're like, clearly we're into totally different stuff. And like this guy's into things that I'm not into and I'm into things that he's not into, but I'm going to challenge myself to find something interesting about what this person is into. And you can, and you will.
Always can.
All of a sudden you're going to find yourself being like, yeah, fly fishing is sick, man. That's so, you know, or like,
they can teach you about
tell
it.
me more about
100%.
golf, you know, like I could care less about golf, but if you're in a conversation with somebody and it's a genuine, real person who wants to be talking to you, you know, it's like, make it a little challenge for yourself to like take an interest in people, even if on the surface, maybe even like another musician who plays music that you're not into at all.
Yeah.
Ask them about it.
Yeah.
How do you make
Totally.
that? What do you record that with?
But that's what makes things good. Like one of the best drummers right now is Benny Greb because he has such a variety of things under his belt. Like he studied Eastern rhythms for a long time. He studied jazz for a long time. And he wouldn't be the drummer he is today if he didn't have this like wide variety of different stuff that all melds into shit. I said this on Thanksgiving. That melds into
Benny Greb has been a recurring recurring theme.
But it all
Benny, get on the show. Let's go.
But it all melds into one thing. Like I bet Mike's really into golf. He golfs all the time. I bet there's a little piece of golf that has benefited his videography skills.
I'm sure.
I bet.
It's all the same.
I don't know what that could possibly
if you
be.
really condense it down.
Yeah.
It's like motor skills and learning and combination. Yeah.
Having an eye for things.
Yep.
Being
Taste.
able to,
Or just getting good at things too. Like if you can get good at golf, I bet you're that much more likely to be able to get good at knitting. You know?
It's true. It's true.
Something like that. Okay, so you were here a few months ago too, because you were traveling, doing a documentary kind of deal.
Yeah.
What was that whole situation?
Oh man, where do I start with that?
Take me away.
I wanted to find out more about myself, and I wanted to find out where I was going to live, like where I was going to end up. But there was a point earlier this year where I realized that I've been in Colorado for almost 30 years, my entire life, and there's so many things happening. I've been to a couple of these different cities, but damn it, I'm going to find out which one. And so I went from Colorado, did like a Midwest tour. I went to Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska, up to Chicago, down to Nashville, New Orleans, Austin, Texas, Oklahoma City, and Santa Fe, you know, just that route. I'd been to a bunch of those places, but I wanted to go and talk to the people who were there, who were making music, the songwriters who were there, and ask them about, you know, the scene, but also wanted to learn more about songwriting, because I'm not really a songwriter myself in the respect of songwriter round. I'm more of like a composer and producer than I am songwriter.
Music
but
and lyrics.
Exactly. But as a producer, I wanted to understand songwriting better for my clients and people that I was working with, and really wanted to understand, what the process is. And, is there one common process, or are there many? And what I discovered from these people was so interesting, asking people the exact same question, whatever that happened to be. But one that kept circulating through was, how do you relate to your music? And that question got me the most interesting answers that I wouldn't have expected. One person says, oh, I am my music. Like, I go up on stage and it's me, and whatever hits me on stage, it hits my songs, like hits me deep down in my personality. Somebody else says, oh, music is a mirror for me. Like, it reflects back at me the things that I don't want to look at, or I'm not used to looking at. Somebody else will say music is my shield. So it's like, it's how it I'm protected by it. It's just so fascinating to hear that. So learned a lot. And I was in Nashville. I met 3 awesome singer-songwriters here.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And fell in love with the area. Like, seeing how much those musicians were thriving, wanted to be here and hearing about their scene in the industry. It was just an obvious choice. So
yeah. And seemingly how willing they were, because here you got the most people.
Yeah, 3 people here by 1. So.
That's right, by 1.
Yeah,
we got the most people, baby. It was a sign. It was a sign.
Who else did you? I know you did Shan, Scott. Who else did you record here?
Yeah, I recorded Shanna in a Dress is her name. She's awesome. Like, nice mix of versatile songs, I'll say.
Yeah.
All different types of topics. And then John Hollier, he's in Nashville here also. He's great.
Unbelievably good for how little of a following he has.
Really?
As if the following means a lot. But like, he reminds me a lot of like Marcus Mumford. He's got that grit in his voice, but so much energy.
He's fantastic.
Behind the shows. He said he would come on, and then I just like fucking slacked.
Get him. He's real good.
I got to get him back.
He has such a powerful voice. That was one of my biggest takeaways. Every setup for this tour was completely different miking technique, because it could be outside, or it could be people, crowd around a couch, and you're doing like stereo miking on the guitars or whatever.
And the cicadas.
Cicadas. Don't even get me started on that. Luckily, we had spots in Nashville away from the cicadas, but John's session was, stereo mics on the guitars, and then normally put the vocal mic somewhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the way over here, like out here, and like no trouble hearing him. It was just like so much
direct.
projection. Yeah.
He's got so much power behind his voice.
Yeah, man.
It's like, it's so unique.
Yes.
He's so good.
Great songs, very soulful.
He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get him on, dude.
Yeah,
He's
for
like,
sure.
He seems really nice too. I've never talked to him, but
yeah, he's great.
he seems like
From
home.
New Orleans.
Yeah. We like New Orleansers.
Yeah, we like our New Orleans people. My roommate's from New Orleans.
Nice.
He's good people. My old
He's
bass
good
player who lives in Denver is from New Orleans.
Cool.
They're proud.
They're
New
proud.
Orleans people will tell you they're from New Orleans.
As
Yes,
they
that's
should,
right.
dude.
New Orleans and Chicago.
I was going to say Chicago.
Chicago people
Chicago
and New Orleans
pride.
people.
That was the word that kept coming up with interviews in Chicago was pride.
Yeah, a lot of pride.
Yeah.
I was gonna make fun
They
of
love
New
their
York.
cities.
I thought they were.
Yeah, they're pretty prideful, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man, how do I say without insulting it? But
Too late.
Chicago pride is like, we all know how good Chicago is.
Yeah.
I don't need to change your mind about it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a foregone conclusion. It's like it's
Yeah.
already decided.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the greatest city ever.
Yeah,
Can't
and then they
be
have the,
convinced otherwise.
rivalries like this is better than this. But
Yeah.
That's Chicago. They're just like happy and proud, and like they don't need your approval about it.
Right.
Yeah, they could care less.
That's true. So when can we see the documentary?
Well,
Do you know?
there's some that are basically edited. So I recorded 14 artists.
Wow.
It's a lot, dude.
And mind you, this is like in my car the entire time, like living for 3 weeks, 5,000 miles, like
Yeah.
took the seats out of the back,
Yeah.
threw a bunch of mics and video recording gear in the back.
And the bike.
So I got some work to do still. I got some
Yeah.
editing, but we're getting close. I have like 5 of them that are basically finished. Need to go through and trim the fat a little bit. But then the question is, okay, these are all artist features of the different people that I worked with, but sewing it into this long form documentary, I talked with the producer about it a while ago, and he actually suggested that you need like a common thread through all of it. And he's
Sure.
like, why did you go on the trip? He's like, why don't you talk about that. So trying to decide like what the format of the final documentary itself is going to be. But
Yeah.
I think as those features are finished, I'll kind of see how that's going to end up.
Yeah, and kind of like stating that at the beginning of the thing, just like, did you already film that? How did you do that? Like, did you film at the beginning, like, hey, what's up? My name's Max. I'm about to go on this trip.
None. No. So
Okay.
that was the biggest takeaway I got from this meeting with him is he's like this, because we didn't talk about this, but one of my mantras is like, you need an extra set of ears on whatever you work on or extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
So he was able to do that for me, and he looked at my project and he said, this is great, you have all these things, but like, what's the thing tying everything together? And we talked about it, and I think it ends up being, you know, what is the value of music for you? And then also like, what did I pull from each of these people's experiences? Like, what is the common ground throughout everybody? Because if I don't talk about that, then these are just people that are on different parts of the country and they have no relation to each other. But talking about the theme of what music does for each of us would kind of sew everything together. So that's the goal. But I need somebody to interview me and ask me questions about why I went on the trip. And so that's down the road, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, do the interview here, dude.
Yeah, we could.
We'll interview you.
Cool.
Should we do it
Just
now?
right now.
You have to go back and watch each performance, and then you chime in as if you just got done with it, and you're like, that was crazy, guys. So we're off to the next city.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
It's like
pretend
clearly like an AI background.
yeah. We're headed to Chicago next. That was crazy, Omaha. We got to get going, though.
Exactly. So yeah, we'll see.
That's super exciting.
I'm excited to see it, dude.
How much do you know how many hours of footage you got total?
Oh,
Probably don't even want to look.
terabytes.
Terabytes.
But you know, I'm pretty conservative with the filming, so I got some B-roll. The interviews are like 30 minutes each, so it wasn't crazy. I only had 2 cameras. I bought 2 Sony A7S2s for this and ran with those. Everything's in 1080, so it's not
Nice.
crazy. So luckily I didn't give myself too much work, like having to sift through things. You know, pretty easy to find the take that we're going to use. So everybody got 1 song, 3 takes. I was like, that's it.
Are you thinking about putting the songs out on streaming as like a
Live album.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a good idea. What do you do with the video? Do you hit up Bezos and put it on Amazon? Or what is the
like the
goal?
distribution?
The
Do
distribution
you push it to
platform.
people? Do you
YouTube.
I think, if I'm thinking, there's so many different hats to put on thing about that decision, but
Right.
from a marketing perspective, I think giving each artist their feature to post wherever they want and promote it, and then each artist's feature leads back to, if you want to watch more of these, go to this channel. And it's like, my rule for myself was that it didn't go everywhere all at once for free all the time. So I have to figure out what that means, if there's like some kind of a paywall or donation, and I haven't thought about that yet, because it's, you know, make the music first, or develop the product, ask questions later. What does Rick Rubin say? He's like, be creative first, and then don't worry about like where the monetization comes from as you're
Sounds
making
right.
Just make
Yeah.
the thing and then
Yeah.
figure out how you're gonna distribute it.
it. Yes.
If you were to do it as like a paywall thing, would you have to continue doing stuff like that? So if they are paying for it, or is it a one-time pay kind of deal? Like they see Shan do her song, and then they would have to
think
pay
subscription.
to hear the rest of her story.
I think subscription. Yeah, it could be tied into where I'm developing this recording school called the Indie Recording Academy.
Right.
So maybe that's like another sub channel in there that's
That'd be cool.
inspiration. But I want to keep doing this. I think we've talked about it several times, but like storytelling and getting context for music, it's kind of what I want to be focusing on in Nashville, is recording the song, but I really want to help artists tell their story about why they wrote that song and where they came from. And again, Shan Scott's a great example.
Fantastic.
Oh man,
Yeah.
her song is so beautiful on its own, but then you hear the context about why she wrote it, and it's so much weight to it.
Yeah, that's why American Idol works. Say that every podcast too. American Idol works because there's a story, and then the song has that much more depth to it.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
That's a great point.
That whole thing.
Speaking of which, we stopped in Shakota, Oklahoma,
Okay.
which is oh no, what is her name?
I don't
I
know.
have to edit this out. What?
Pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel. The famous American Idol singer. I just totally spaced her name.
Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
She's from Oklahoma?
Yeah, Shakota. She got a song about it.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Shakota, Oklahoma.
Ain't no rain in Oklahoma.
Down in
probably not that one.
Shakota. Something like
I think
that.
we did it.
We did it.
Did we write a Carrie
Did
Underwood
we
song?
just write a Carrie
That might have been
Underwood
it.
song?
Find it.
That will be
None of this
$1 million.
matters. Pumpernickel.
Stop! I'm gonna have to actually look at those. Now we need a new. This happens every time too. We need a different keyword. You fools.
I'm working on one. I'm thinking I'm cooking a good one up. We'll use it next episode.
Whatever.
don't have
That
it yet.
it's gonna get
You
ruined
just
too.
clip the mic, just like really loud clap.
That's what I've been doing. I've just been, hitting a little
I know, but
transient.
I can't go into the transcription and look up clap sound.
Dude, I have an idea that I've never implemented, but you could do. You have a fourth input on that?
Yeah.
Okay, check this out. 1/4-inch cable. You got it in your little hoodie.
It doesn't take
right
1/4
there.
inch.
Yeah, it's got to be multi-input.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, fine. XLR
It is
cable
actually, yeah.
with
just-
1/4-inch on the other end, just so you can touch it. And then you're sitting here
Oh.
on the podcast, and when something
Oh, okay.
needs to get
It's a
like
good
blurred
idea.
out, you just put your thumb on it, and you get like
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
All right.
a slate kind of.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
So anyway, forget everything about Carrie Underwood, but interesting. We stopped in Shakota. It was cool.
Nice.
I'm excited about the indie recording. You have a lot of different things going on.
Yes.
You have a lot of pans in the fryer.
You put pans in the fryer?
We don't have to continue with that one.
Irons in the fire? Pans in the fryer?
You're firing a lot of irons.
Yes, the way I see it is
That would
like
make more sense, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
irons and fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
man of many hats.
You're making a lot of swords.
I'm making swords in the fire with my hats on 2-Step Tuesdays.
You're stoning a lot of birds at the same time.
What were we talking about?
You're
You're
doing,
just doing a lot of stuff.
Oh,
It's and I always wonder about stuff like that too, because like I just quit my marketing job. I don't think I told you that.
No, you didn't tell
I
me
quit
that.
last Friday
Damn.
because like I think I worry that I'm too distracted or will be too distracted with having too many things going on at the same time. And I think a lot of successful people have like a singularity of purpose is the thing, where you can put, most of your energy, you can laser focus your energy on one thing as opposed to spreading it thin. Do you worry about that?
I don't worry about it, but
Yeah.
what I will say is that my time in Colorado was absolutely spent trying things, and I really value that because I got opportunities to work with nonprofits and do after school programs. I worked on a film. I composed music for a feature film that's coming out next year. I'm really excited about, and Fox tracks record, like whatever, like video, like all these different things. They all have potential for me to like follow that path and like do that. But you're 100% right. Like I cannot do all of those things all at the same time. So the way I'm seeing it is like this move to Nashville. I'm turning 30 next year. It's 2025, which is like even numbers. And to me, I'm like, great. That's like fresh start.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick a few and follow those and be like very specific and intentional about that. And so absolutely, like I think that's important.
Yeah. It's just hard to know too. Especially like in your early 20s. Like when you have no idea what you're gonna do, like like what's gonna make me money, like what am I
think
gonna like to
anybody
do?
ever figures it out 100%.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You just gotta stick with something, then it works, and then you meet the right people doing it. And it's not like horribly miserable. That was a bad way to say that. And it's fun to do, and like you enjoy waking up every day, and you actually have energy when you're doing it. Because sometimes you take that job and you lose your energy while you're doing it, and time does not fly fast. Like I'm sure when we're all mixing something, when we're all working on a song, it goes by fast. Which is kind of what you want. There's a quote. There's a quote somewhere. I think it's a Kevin Hart quote. Like it's something like you should want. I don't know. You want a job that goes by fast. Something like that. That's not a good quote.
You want your life to pass by really quickly, and next thing you know, you're old and
How about
the last
That's
40
an
years.
Alan Watts quote. His thing is like, it's kind of a shame that the happiest people feel like they die sooner because life goes so fast, but the saddest people live the longest life.
Yeah.
Whoa, we don't need to subscribe to that one. You just have to be present and focus on
in the
everything
moment.
that's happening. Yeah, and then your life is just long enough.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank
dude.
you.
Yep.
I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, dude.
I know.
It's so fun to have you.
It's a
Moving
cool
to
full
Nashville.
circle moment. I really enjoy this
It's
actually.
totally
Yeah.
full circle. We should have had coffee at the table.
Damn, we should have.
Jesus,
Man, shout out to coffee.
Coffee's
dude.
great.
The beverage that brought us all together. The real hero.
Dude.
This moment was brought to you by coffee. Any coffee.